How has the WWE been so successful all these years? It's not just wrestling, it's storytelling. Over decades, WWE has mastered the art of building larger-than-life characters and stories that can only be described as cinema. And today, we're breaking it down. If you're new here, I'm TJ, and today we're going to be going over the best storylines, the role of commentary, and even breaking kayfabe, more on that later, and what you as a small business owner or content creator can learn from it. Let's get it. Let's talk about the fundamentals of WWE storytelling, which is conflict plus character equals engagement. Let's talk about some of the key storylines in WWE history, starting with the Yes Movement. This movement was centered around Daniel Bryan, who is one of the best technical wrestlers in the world, and he knew he was. However, he didn't have the look that a typical WWE superstar had, and was seen as a B-plus player, a wrestler whose role is to simply make the top stars look good. In 2013, Bryan captured the WWE Championship only to lose it to Randy Orton a few minutes later. Triple H, who we'll come back to later, who was the special referee in that match, formed an alliance with Randy Orton, along with Triple H's wife, Stephanie McMahon, and they were known as the Authority. For months, the Authority sought to put Daniel Bryan in his place every chance they got, but the fans got behind Daniel Bryan more and more, using his signature yes chant as the battle cry, and tweeting their frustrations out. Fans got sick of the Authority because they would come out almost every week and talk your ears off for 30 minutes when you just want to see some wrestling. So Daniel Bryan challenged Triple H to a match at WrestleMania 30. Then one night on Raw, which was the first Raw I ever attended, Daniel Bryan had fans flood the ring demanding that Triple H accepts his challenge. Triple H accepted with the stipulation that whoever won the match would be added to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania 30 between Randy Orton and Batista. Daniel Bryan beats Triple H and goes on to defeat Orton and Batista to become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And the reason why this storyline is so significant is because it showed the power of the fans using their voice. The fans demanded that Daniel Bryan get his moment in the spotlight. Now let's talk about Becky Lynch. One woman who started her own revolution was Becky Lynch. Becky had been struggling to climb her way to the top. She would get a big win every now and then, only to have the rug pulled out from under her later. Now, fans got behind Becky because they saw themselves in her. She was the Irish lass kicker, a gritty underdog who became tired of having moments stolen from her. At 2018 SummerSlam, fans saw a new side of Becky. Becky had earned a championship match. Charlotte Flair, who was heavily favored by the higher-ups in WWE, inserted herself into the match. Charlotte, Becky's friend at the time, won the match and fans were pissed. They thought that Becky was finally gonna get her big moment, but WWE said, nah fam. Becky beat the brakes off Charlotte after the match justifiably. And just like that, Becky added a new layer to her character. She woke up and realized who in the world she was. She became more aggressive and more brash, which led to her becoming the first women's double champion at WrestleMania 35 and the first women's main event in WrestleMania history. Fans loved it, and Becky Lynch became a megastar. This storyline showed that the importance of not being passive and fighting for what you want in life. Now, let's move on to arguably the best WWE storyline ever produced, the Bloodline. I could go all day talking about this storyline, but for the sake of this video, I'll keep it brief. Now, this storyline revolves around the Anoa'i family, a multi-generational Samoan dynasty in WWE. Roman Reigns, the appointed tribal chief, which is the leader of the family, forms a group called the Bloodline, along with his cousins, Jimmy and Jey Uso, Solo Sikoa, Roman's manager and wise man, Paul Heyman, and Sami Zayn, who was temporarily brought in as an honorary member of the family because of his loyalty. From 2020 to 2025, this family went from loyalty to dominance to betrayal to fallout, and us fans were along for the ride. What a roller coaster that storyline was. Every week we tuned in to see the latest twists and developments of the Bloodline story. The Bloodline story is considered by many as the storyline that brought a lot of fans back. Now, the key lesson here is that as a brand or creator, your content needs character, payoff, and emotional connection. Now, here's what you can do to establish these. For character, think about your target audience. Your audience is the main character, not you. You are the guy who helps solve their problems. In WWE, this would be the manager. Managers have played a key role in the development of characters. Think of them as supporting characters. Now, the manager's objective is to set their client up for success and provide guidance along the way. Your objective as a small business owner or content creator is to address your audience's pain points and guide them to the solution. All right, so a few questions you need to ask yourself is, who are they? What do they do? What platforms are they on? And what are their pain points? And what is the payoff? What does the audience get in return when they purchase your product, your service, or engage with your content? Now, here's a hack that I've learned. For my small business owners, instead of selling the features of your product or service, sell the transformation. Now, here's an example of that. If you're a fitness coach selling a personal training program, sell the improvement in your client's quality of life once they complete the program. Case in point, WWE doesn't sell wrestling. They sell drama, nostalgia, excitement, spectacle, belonging. These are WWE's core values. Now, another element of WWE storytelling is long-term booking and long-term character arcs. Going back to Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, that story can be traced all the way back to June 2nd, 2014. At the time, Roman, along with Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, now known as Jon Moxley in All Elite Wrestling, were a highly popular and notorious group known as The Shield, who ran roughshod over WWE. On that night, Seth Rollins stabbed Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose in the back. And even though Roman evolved into a main eventer after the got about, nor forgave Seth for what he did, which cost Roman big time. It cost him the undisputed championship at WrestleMania 40 last year. During a critical moment in the match, Roman had a choice to either hit Cody Rhodes, who he was facing, or Seth Rollins with a steel chair. He chose Seth, and Cody took advantage. The best stories take the viewer on a journey with each character. Now, the takeaway with this is to build your brand narrative with layers. Do not be afraid to play the long game. Long-term storytelling wins all day. Now, another element of WWE storytelling is the commentary. And commentators are really the unsung heroes of WWE and are just as important as the wrestlers. They play a key role in WWE's storyline development as WWE's storyteller. Their job is to communicate to millions of people on a weekly basis what is taking place both in the ring and outside of the ring. Now, over the years, I have become just as fascinated with the commentary aspect as I am with the storylines. Commentators like Jim Ross, Jerry the King Lawler, Gorilla Monsoon, and Michael Cole have mastered the art of conveying emotion to the audience as they are reacting and commenting on the storylines and wrestling taking place. Now, a perfect example of this is the dynamic between Jim Ross and Triple H. Triple H was a heel, which is a bad guy, who did whatever it took to get to the top and stay on top of WWE. Jim Ross's role as the lead commentator during Triple H's peak run in WWE was massive. JR made sure to tell the audience just how dirty and low down Triple H was on a weekly basis. We knew it was all storyline, but JR made us believe it was real because of how passionate he was in his commentary. See for yourself.
Does he have no conscience? Does he have no heart? Do you have no soul? You son of a...
Your brand voice matters. It's how people make sense of your content. How are you communicating your story to your audience? Now, there's actually a term for storylines that is used in the wrestling world called kayfabe, like I mentioned previously. And what kayfabe is the illusion that storylines were real. For decades, wrestlers have went to great lengths to protect kayfabe, acting as their character in real life settings because they didn't want to ruin the mystique of their character. If a wrestler broke kayfabe, that could lead to serious consequences. And The Undertaker is the ultimate example of this. For 30 years, The Undertaker character, who was known for being dark and mysterious, having very little to say. For decades, Mark Calloway, the man portraying The Undertaker, rarely did interviews and appearances outside of wrestling because he wanted to preserve The Undertaker persona. Only recently has Mark Calloway started to show more of himself outside of the ring. He currently has a podcast called 6 Feet Under with The Undertaker, where he shares his experiences as a wrestler and his thoughts on the current product and interviewing other wrestlers. Now, I did mention Triple H. Let's go back to Triple H for a moment. Triple H, in his rookie year, along with his friends Shawn Michaels, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash, infamously broke kayfabe during the show in 1996 known as the Curtain Call. To make a long story short, Triple H was a bad guy at the time and Shawn Michaels was a good guy at the time. It was an unwritten rule for good guys and bad guys to not interact with each other out of character during shows and after shows. All four wrestlers, after a non-televised match between Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash, hugged in the middle of the ring as they said goodbye to Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, who were heading to World Championship Wrestling, the top rival to WWE at the time. Triple H and Kevin Nash were the bad guys, and Shawn Michaels and Scott Hall were the good guys. The only wrestler that got punished during that incident was Triple H, and here's why. Shawn Michaels was the WWE champion, and at the time he was favored very heavily by management, and Nash and Hall were out the door, so there was no reason to punish them. So Triple H took the fall from that. But however, Triple H bounced back from that later on. The key insight here is maintaining brand consistency is basically the modern version of protecting kayfabe. While professional wrestling is scripted, your brand is as real as it gets, and you should treat it as such. Now this is done through showing up consistently, knowing who you are, and what your audience wants. Now, there is a new show that is premiering on Netflix this summer called WWE Unreal, and by the time y'all see this, it will already be on Netflix. It gives us a behind-the-scenes look at the writer's room as they develop storylines, and this has a lot of people talking. Now, many fans are concerned that this series will ruin kayfabe. Like I mentioned, the illusion the storylines are real, but let me push back on this for a bit. It's not 1989. Everyone knows that pro wrestling is scripted. Now, looking at it from a creative standpoint, I'm interested in seeing how the writers come up with storylines and keep them consistent over time. As a fan, however, I'd rather watch the storylines play out on TV. But as a creator, I'm curious about the process behind it. I'll probably do a deep dive on WWE Unreal in a future video. But what happens when too much is revealed? This question perfectly sums up the fan criticism of WWE Unreal, fearing that WWE is revealing too much with this series. Now, a lot of fans would much rather watch the storylines play out on TV, which is totally understandable. Now, here is a question that I would propose to you. How much of your process should you show? Does transparency help or hurt? Now, I will say that being transparent can be risky. As a small business owner or creator, it is entirely up to you how transparent you want to be with your brand. You don't have to tell everything. You can choose which parts of your brand that you want to show. Now, what can you as a small business owner or creator learn from this? Storytelling isn't just entertainment, it's a tool. Storytelling is vital. If you are not attaching a story to your brand, then your audience will be less likely to engage with you. Now, how do you do this? Simply tell the story of how your brand came to life. Instead of just providing facts, describe how you were feeling at the time, if you're comfortable, and why your brand exists. Now let's talk about how to build your own storytelling framework. In a story, you have a protagonist, you have conflict, you have transformation, then you have a payoff. Let's break this down. Every story starts with a protagonist, the main character of the story. The main character runs into a challenge or a problem that needs to be solved. The main character finds a solution to their problem. The main character overcomes their challenge as a result. 3 big takeaways from this video is that storytelling builds loyalty, every brand needs a voice, and consistency matters. WWE storytelling isn't perfect, but it works. And if you apply these lessons to your brand, you'll connect deeper, grow faster, and create impact. Now, let me know in the comments your biggest takeaway from this video, and subscribe for episode 3, where we break down how WWE secured a $1 billion partnership with Netflix. And if no one else told you, you matter, and you were put on this earth to be great.